Dajahan, hi guys, it's Janae and welcome back to my channel. Sorry I am late, but we have a little bit of a storm going on right now for like the first time in forever. We're so happy because it's been way too hot. But anyway, so there is gonna be like a little bit of thunder and rain and ambience in the background. I'm really sorry. I'm hoping no one's too bothered by it. But yeah, that's why I'm late, because I realized that the door that I have like behind me that leads onto a like little balcony, um, it is making like a noise every time the wind hits it. So I had to like sort that out first. Um, Seems like suddenly there were 2 people waiting and now there's no viewers, so I'm hoping everything is fine. I should probably let everyone know that the live is starting, so just pardon me for a second while I do that. That's very strange. It seems like it just threw everyone off the moment that I said start live stream. I'm not sure. Let me just see. Um, maybe something's weird on like my side. But anyway, if not, please just let me know what the sound is like, if it's fine. I probably shouldn't have just refreshed my stream like that. Let's hope that didn't do anything. Okay, anyway, so if there is someone here, please just let me know if the audio is okay. And let me just do like a quick test run with the audio from my phone, and also like letting me know if that sounds okay. It should be fine, I'm not sure, but we shall see. I tried to put my mic's volume up as much as possible. But anyway, I'm just gonna give it like a few moments to see if there is anybody here. So yeah, just let me know if the sound's okay. So everything does seem to be fine here on my side, but of course confirmation is better. Okay, let us see. Okay, while we are waiting, let me quickly pull up the correct chapter. So we left off with chapter 57, and yeah, it was a little bit wild with a lot of innuendos and voyeurism and things I did not see coming. So we shall see what this chapter has to offer. I feel like it could just get even more wild, or it could be surprisingly mild in comparison. I don't know. Okay, so also this is just the volume that we're going to be at for the audio, so let me know about that as well. Sorry, it's not playing yet.
Faraway Wanderers, Chapter 58.
Is that okay?
Thrill. Jokes.
I don't want spoilers just yet. Sorry. While we wait, I'm just quickly gonna sip a cup of coffee, and if anyone is up for it, maybe just tell me how your week has been. Mine has turned out better than I feared. Like, because yesterday we had a power cut and it started at 12 a.m., like middle of the night, and then it went to, think about 4 p.m., so it was out for a good like 16 hours. And I was very scared that it was going to be like a week, because that's generally our track record, but luckily that was not the case, so I am not completely like thrown off my schedule like I feared, which means I can do this, so I'm really happy about that. But yeah, okay, so I am just gonna assume that the sound is okay and we are gonna get started, and we'll just hope for the best. I don't know. Anyway, let us get started, and let's just start over because I wasn't focusing. Okay, oh, I suppose I need to make sure that I can actually scroll, unlike last time. Okay.
Faraway Wanderers, Chapter 58. A thrill.
A
Jotsu
thrill,
really
okay.
felt like throwing up, thinking of how this world's ways had changed and people's minds were no longer how the ancients were. A young madam from a rich family had actually run off in the middle of the night to play around in a world of flowers. He raised his head.
Where did we leave off? Hold on, now I'm so confused. I'm kind of scared to scroll, but I just want like a little bit of recap. The scorpion turned around, all smiles, and tucked his hands into his sleeves. What do you say to this? Oh, right. Okay, thank you. Hello. Right, we were at a girl who was pretending to be a boy, wanting to go into a place that she wasn't supposed to be going into. But hello to you both.
Night sky. The scorpion
sorry.
coldly. Those that are intellectuals focus on words begetting
You would
actions.
swear I've never done this before.
Actions begetting results. Children of Jung who said, "A noble's word is like a whip for a quick horse." Even those little hooligans at the roadside know that every drop of spittle is like a nail. Are you going to grow
I'm not
fat
familiar
from
with
picking
this.
your own words, Brother Joe? Xing, ever fearing a peaceful world, jabbed Jotsushu on the waist. That's right. Cheating and using tricks is fine, but not keeping to one's word is too shameful. Even I wouldn't be able to steel myself and keep you company anymore.
Oh my word, Xing, shush.
His pervy hands away, thinking, if you're so compassionate, don't keep me company at all. He looked at the scorpion, then turned and walked back in without a word. The other's face loosened up, a grin subsequently showing upon it. While his looks weren't too bad, he wasn't at all nice to look at when he smiled. His mouth somewhat crooked and looking especially ill-intended. Paired with that lewd look in his eyes, he was even a little vulgar.
Oh, I don't like that description.
Suddenly had a slight sense of alarm. He looked at Jotsushu's back, then at the one beside him, feeling that doing this in that guy's presence was something he needed to reconcile his mentality with. He quickly found that he had been overthinking things, though. The scorpion stood, arms crossed, at the room's entrance that emitted a gentle fragrance. Someone
Okay,
had
hold on. Like, what are they about to do? Because my brain is going to one place and I'm really hoping it's the wrong place.
already come in and tidied up the bed, its curtains hanging loosely. He asked, "Do you two need a bath and a change of clothes, or a little something to add to the fun?"
Oh,
Jotsushu
hell no,
rolled
my
up his
brain went to the
sleeves.
right place.
"No need for all that trouble," he answered, "much like how a thug would. Ink and a brush will serve well." The scorpion was caught off guard. He clapped a short
Hold
moment later,
on.
and a man dressed like a servant jogged over, bowing as he stood in front of him. When the scorpion whispered something to him, Jotsushu quickly added, "I want 100 sheets of schwan paper." The servant left while the scorpion looked at him.
I'm so
"You're not
confused.
trying to play another trick, are you, Brother Joe?" he wondered. Jotsushu put one leg over the other when he languidly sat on the edge of the bed,
Okay.
smiling. "Aren't you sick of watching some meat piles rolling around all day long? Wait just a moment, and I'll have you witnessing something fresh." Wunkashing kept quiet, going
And fresh as in death?
on the inside. He mulled over
I don't know.
if Hushu had the means to cut the scorpion, that'd be great, as it would prevent the man from taking advantage. And if he truly thought about it, well, one had to obey who they married. He would inevitably have to take on the difficult job of risking his life to accompany his husband this time around. In short order, a brush, inkstone, some papers, and ink were all prepared. Jotsushu stood up and made a gesture of invitation towards the scorpion. "Please wait a little while."
Oh my word, okay. But like, I love how he's like, yes, well, I suppose I have to obey my husband. It doesn't even matter if he's right in this case or not. I'm here to support him. That is nice. Hello, it's been a long time since I've seen Word of Honor. I need to remember what it's about. Oh, yes, no, please remind yourself. It's a wonderful show. I mean, it's still one of my favorites, I have to admit. I think I just have a very soft spot for all the BLs that have valiantly passed the Chinese censorship. So, yeah, definitely one of the greats.
Scorpion was in no rush, of course.
Oopsie.
He closed the door behind him, went and picked up the teapot and poured himself a drink,
Ah.
only to see Jotsushu pick up the brush without hesitation. Seeing the pose he was taking, he had quite the aura of being from an influential family of painters, and his brush seemed to fly. In not even a few strokes, he was done with one sheet, hanging it up to dry before reaching his evil claws out for another.
His evil claws?
Wunkashing had had no idea what he was doing, standing nearby and craning his neck to look. The more he watched, the weirder his expression grew, and the higher his eyebrows rose, until they were practically flying off his face, as if this was the first time he was getting to know Jotsushu as a person. He felt true astonishment that he wasn't sure how to express. All he could do was stand by him, his hands tied in a very dignified manner. After an instant's worth of time, Jotsushu had efficiently used up about a dozen sheets of paper. His massive undertaking completed, he tossed his brush to the side, picked up the final sheet, and gently blew on it to dry it. This was ended with him picking up the very first sheet.
I have no idea what to
slapping it
expect.
against the wall forcefully, causing the delicate schwan paper to stick to it. His movements were unceasing. In not much time at all, he had set up his dozen-ish papers in sequence, and smacked the total sum of them onto the wall too. The scorpion's complexion had already turned green.
Why?
On those dozen-ish sheets was very simple line work, the picture they painted being erotica.
Oh, okay.
Simple erotica. There were only two players, a circle represented a head, and extending outwards were a few scant strokes, outlining the body and all four limbs.
Oh my word.
5 limbs. Despite the simplicity of the drawing, the figures
No, hold on. You can't just deliver a line like that and just expect me to move right on from that. Oh my word. Okay, I thought maybe, but then I was like, no, why on earth would he say that the Scorpion King wouldn't have ever come across something like that? Because I think probably he has. Um, Seeing the way the Chinese censorship is so satisfying, like a sense of victory. Yeah, exactly. I kind of live for it, and I wish that we could continue to see more of it, but oh well. At least for the foreseeable future, I'm not getting my hopes up.
Were yet realistic. The entire sequence had been drawn precisely from how they undressed to the very end,
Oh,
and it even gave the illusion that the painted people were moving when you looked across the papers.
oh wow, that's pretty
Shing
impressive.
held himself back for a very, very long time, then tried to make as appropriate of an evaluation as possible. Ashu, I didn't know you had such talent. My talents are lacking and are an embarrassment, Jotsushu said, quickly
Yeah,
and politely.
sure.
Seeing as this guy's skin was getting thicker and thicker, Onkoshin didn't know what to say. The scorpion forcefully thunked the Gaiwan he held onto the table and stood up with a bang.
Okay, hold on. But is he basically saying like, oh my soul, Joshushu is becoming harder and harder to tease. I don't know what to say anymore. Because that's kind of the way it sounded.
Terribly angry, it had turned into amusement. Are you messing with me, Brother Joe? Jotsushu hid his hands in his sleeves, answering calmly, What makes you say that? I asked who wanted Jiang Qingling dead, and your admirable self only told us who your client was, not telling of who was giving orders behind him.
Ah, so because he only gave half of the bargain, Joshushu also only gave half of the bargain. I'm kind of loving it.
Abuse? As such, you only said that the two of us needed to put on a show for you to witness. He reached out
He
and
did say
knocked on
that.
the wall paintings. So we put on a show.
Mm.
If the painting has some areas that don't quite look right, please give all the comments you have, sire. Onkoshin appeared to fear that the scorpion wouldn't understand, explaining passionately, I'm truly sorry for my spouse's poor craftsmanship. Come now, if you don't grasp something, I can tell you what it is. This figure on top here is me.
Oh my soul, guys, I'm sorry. I don't know why this is like so funny to me. But like the way he's like almost talking to him like it's a child whose hand he's holding, and he's like, oh, so you see this and then that, and this is how you I don't think he's gonna appreciate that.
Explanations are just a way to gloss things over. Why bother? Jotsushu coolly interrupted, giving him the side eye. The scorpion's fists clenched tight as he squeezed a few words out between his teeth. Your tricks have gone too far. Right before he finished speaking, and even though he wasn't seen to make any sort of motion, around 8 scorpions in pure black clothes appeared out of nowhere from all 4 directions. Onkoshin and Jotsushu didn't look to be too shocked, however, with the former smiling and saying, This humble one is truly embarrassed that our spot of romance was witnessed by so many of his gems. The scorpions had no intention of chatting. Without even a hello, they charged forth, their trained coordination making it seem like they were collectively only 2 separate bodies. Jotsushu overturned the small table before them with a slap of the hand, then took that chance to quickly step backwards.
Oh my god. When Cushing is very confident, he's the one on top. Yeah. Yeah, no, his confidence is definitely not lacking. But Wen should never become a teacher. I mean, I feel like in some non-erotic ways, Jiang Qiling will disagree with you because he's actually the nicer teacher between him and Joshushu. And the arts of not things to do with the bed. How should I put this? I'm very eloquent.
It was nearing
But
midnight
yeah.
right about now. A muted pain was beginning to vaguely grow within his
But
chest.
yeah, he shouldn't be a
So
teacher
he
for
wasn't going
this.
to try showing off. I'll leave it to you, he said to Winkishing, ever the wise man that wouldn't suffer an obvious loss, then followed it up by feinting a move to dodge a scorpion, vault out the window, and flee. Winkishing laughed bitterly on repeat. This was the first time in his life that he was going to clean up someone else's mess. Seeing as Jotsushu had already run off and vanished, Winkishing no longer held mercy within his actions. Striking out with a palm, the scorpion before him looked like the hit had sucked him dry of all blood and essence.
Oh, damn.
And the exposed portion of skin on his face swiftly withering while his eyes bulged out. It was like he had turned into a mummy, dead in mere seconds. Winkishing looked at his own palm, lightly sighing. It was just a little joke, Brother Scorpion. Why get so angry? The scorpion collected himself. He raised his hand to stop his scorpions, then apprehensively sized Winkishing up. Who are you? He asked. Winkishing looked back up to him. If you still don't know who I am at this point, sire, wouldn't your scorpions be beyond useless? The scorpion seemed to remember something. His eyes twitched, like he wasn't planning on having anyone hear him. Winkishing lowered his voice and said with a grin, We are both vile creatures on crooked paths. Why should we get in each other's ways? With that, he turned to leave. Although the man was always smiling and had no visible malice whatsoever in his expression, in that instant he was mystifyingly emitting an intense, bloody aura that was hard to ignore. Many scorpions present were compelled by that aura, not a one of them daring to bar his way.
I kind of love it because it's strange to me how, like, in the show, you forget it, but you don't really forget it. But I honestly kind of did forget a little bit how dangerous Winkishing could be. In the novel, I don't think it helped that I haven't read it in quite a while. Like, we're only recently getting back into it. But still, he's so, like, laid back for the most part that you forget how intense he can be.
Want to know who bought the suicide warriors? The scorpion suddenly called after him. Winkishing turned his head to look at him. Thank you, but I have a general gist of it. He too jumped out the window in pursuit of Jotsushu, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Only the words that came out of his mouth seemed to remain where he'd once been. If I was too stupid to figure it out, how could I be about to go flay those ghouls that keep watching me like predators? In the wind cliffs and bamboo ridge, there were many vile ghosts. Jotsushu wasn't walking too quickly. He had been thinking all this while about the subjects he had seen in the scorpion's dungeons. The legendary long-tongued ghost, who had obviously recognized Winkishing, yet had still tried to kill him. There was surely a long story there. The long-tongued ghost didn't seem that capable, and who was the one backing him? Was it the delighted morning ghost, Sinding, creating a distraction, or the six-fingered hanging ghost, Shifeng, causing mischief? Right then, he heard the sudden sound of hurried footsteps coming close to him. It was already far into the night, watchmen having long taken to the streets. He subconsciously ducked into an alley nearby, forcing his chi to circulate in order to make the nails' flare-up not so intense, and listened carefully. The person in question seemed to be getting closer and closer. Their footsteps were chaotic, but he could tell that they were using agility arts. It was just, for some reason, their breathing was extremely rough, like they were injured. Before he got to see who it was, he heard someone approach him from behind. Spine going stiff, he turned his head quickly, crooking his fingers into claws to grab the other's throat.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's
But he was stopped partway through. Winkishing patted his chest while looking at him like he had been wronged, mouthing the words,
Of course he did.
Trying to murder your husband? Jotsushu retracted his hand.
I
only
don't know why, but him like using every single opportunity he can to refer to Joshishu as some form of spouse just brings me so much joy. I'm not sure why.
Proceeding to watch the direction of the noise, the one who scurried over was actually familiar. She was Liu Qianxiao, the green
Right.
monster that had once sought him out due to the whirl barrel. Okay, so this word whirl barrel is actually another name for the lapis armor.
Okay, so yeah, I'm just gonna repeat what she said. So I mentioned in the previous live as well, but some of the things have different names in this version of a translation than the ones that we've been using up until now. So for example, the scorpions have become the scorpion and venoms, but we're keeping it as scorpion, and same with the whirl barrel is the amethyst armor, or like what was it again? But like the armor, glazed armor. I can't giving him puppy eyes while he's being strangled is so him, yes, very much.
Liu Jia, but I'm just gonna be calling it lapis armor from now on. She hadn't face changed this time around, her true, horrifying visage on display. The state of her was even more bedraggled, with her hair scattered everywhere and blood leaking out the corner of her mouth.
Oh, damn.
Jotsushu's brow began to slightly furrow. An arm suddenly caught him off guard by reaching out and looping him tight around the waist, and a hand was placed against his chest. "Don't suppress it, or you'll be in even more pain tomorrow," he heard Wunkexing whisper into his ear. "We'll just wait out here for a minute." Jotsushu continued to frown, but Wunkexing shushed him. He simply held him gently, a fine trace of internal power going through his palm and rushing into Jotsushu to straighten out his meridians.
Why is that so
Even
cute?
so,
I'm sorry.
He dared not use even a little bit of force, afraid that the action would jolt the nails too greatly. Jotsushu paused, yet did not push him away, merely shutting his eyes in rest. Regardless of who ran past them, they would first endure this night. While they were spending their night away, Jiang Qingling pursued the group of black-clothed women by himself.
Oh,
He didn't
damn.
get too close out of fear of being discovered.
Yeah.
And also grabbed mud from the roadside, smeared it all over his face, then mussed up his hair to look like a beggar child, out of fear of being recognized.
I have to say, I'm kind of happy to see Jiang Chengling becoming, like, kind of coming into his own a little bit here when Joshu and Wunkexing aren't there to protect him. Like, it's kind of nice to see, and I feel like it's quite a natural progression. It doesn't feel rushed or anything like that.
He pursued them for a full day. The women were like ascetic monks, their pace quick and without breaks for rest. It was only when darkness came down again that they stopped at a small inn. As Jiang Qingling watched, he felt like Gao Xiaolian's sufferings were beyond words. Getting dragged along by the women all this way, he figured that if she went a few more days like this, she would likely be left half dead. From his own initiative had come one bold decision, and with that he couldn't stop himself from a second bold one. Thus was why he plotted out how to use the nighttime to rescue Miss Gao.
Oh, damn.
Upon
I don't
seeing
know
the
if that's the best
black-clothed women
idea.
enter the inn, he smeared more mud on himself and followed them in under the guise of
Oh,
begging for
no.
alms. After staggering around, he pleaded out about 5 copper coins, committed the room Gao Xiaolian had been shoved into memory, then went to crouch outside the inn. Like a true beggar, he sat on the steps with his head lowered and knees hugged. No one paid him any mind. Despite the prosperity of the world, beggars that looked like him were all over the place. It wasn't until midnight that he got up, moving his numbed limbs around, and prepared to sneak in. He silently recited the mantras of the 9 palace steps, as if doing so would make him a bit stronger, shuttling between the rooms without a sound. All of a sudden, a dark shadow dropped from above without warning.
Damn
It
it.
was one of the black-clothed
Of
women.
course it was.
Without making a sound, she lifted her hand as she moved closer to him. Jiang Qingling didn't have much self-confidence, but he had been trained by 2 experts for half a year, after all.
It's been
Coupled
so
with all his
long.
hard work, he was no longer how he used to be. Like a swimming fish, he slipped out of the way, not meeting his counterparts force with force. They soon began to exchange moves in a brawl. However, after not too long, the woman appeared to realize something. Gasping lightly, she immediately made a feint and vanished from Jiang Qingling's view. Even though his
What's
martial arts had
behind
improved,
him?
he was still inexperienced. He jumped in fright and went looking all around him, only for the woman to suddenly leap out behind him. He felt a numbness coming from the major
Damn it, of course he
acupoint at
did.
his neck and shoulder, after which his mouth was covered by a hand as the woman carried him off.
Damn it. We should have known it would be too good to be true. Damn. Okay. Okay, then just give me 2 seconds to grab some more coffee and then we shall continue with chapter 59. Yeah, 59. Okay. Whew, I am kind of stressing even though I shouldn't be, because if there's one thing I'm pretty sure of, it's that at least out of everyone, Jiang Qingling survives this. But still, it doesn't make it that much easier. Okay, let's grab up the next chapter so long. I have to say, I'm super excited for Erha, but also super stressed because I checked with Kekta because she's already started reading, I think, volume 2. And she's like, yeah, no, it's definitely a 18 plus kind of stream material. So I'm like, okay, I don't know if I'm going to be able to read that, but we're going to try. Sorry. Not sure how long the chapters are gonna be, but I'm gonna try and maybe squeeze in one more chapter than I had planned. If all goes well, that would be great, but at the very least we're gonna be doing 4. Okay, on to the next chapter we go.
Here's chapter 59, Meeting Again. There was only one phrase going through Jiang Qingling's mind: I'm done for. He had always followed Jotsushu before this. What was right, wrong, long, short, or flat had all been thought through by his innately overthinking and hardworking Shifu. As a dumb
That's very
kid,
true.
Jiang Qingling could never keep up with the two's thought processes, so he was perfectly content with being lazy and having an empty head with no thoughts all day long. At this point in time,
Almost
he had
all the
nothing to personally
self-roasting.
rely on, but the mind was unusually adaptable. He wondered why that group of women hated Gao Xiaolian to the extent that they wanted to bring her away, not reluctant to be hindered by her on their journey, and even taking care to feed her. She clearly had some sort of a use to them, else she would have been dead long ago. In
That's
Jianghu,
true.
vicious people that glared and murdered were the least in short supply. So, did they capture him to put him on trial? He firmly
No, I don't
decided
think
that
so.
even if they did interrogate him, he would never provide them his true identity, else the trouble would be massive and he would invite even more problems onto himself.
Oh, that's true.
What if Gao Xiaolian recognized him, though? His mind rumbled with a wave of chaotic thoughts as the woman in black hauled him out of the inn like a sack.
I just hope that Gao Xiaolian has enough, wherewithal right now to not give him away, even if she
When
does
they reached a
recognize him.
small corner beside the stables, she suddenly set him down, though. He looked her up and down in utter shock, but she just undid his acupoint with a wave of her hand, pulled the mask off her face, and opened her mouth to ask, "Are you that little good-for-nothing Jiang Qingling?"
Damn it!
Jiang Qingling's eyes widened, which was immediately followed by him wanting to cry tears of joy and nearly throwing himself
Oh!
forwards.
Sorry, I read
He
ahead.
barely managed managed to suppress his trembling voice to call out, "Guxiang Jie."
Yay!
He opened his arms like he wanted to give her a hug, but she held him back with one hand and shoved him to the side. Men and women aren't to be close. I'm married. Don't go waving your limbs all over the place.
You're
she
married?
said deadpan.
When did that happen? Did I miss a chapter?
Zhang Qingling blinked. He looked at her stupidly for a long time, then had a sudden epiphany. Huh? You and Brother Sao are married? I get it. You and him are of one blanket, right?
I don't think that's
She scowled at him
the
fiercely.
thing.
What are you blabbering about? What bastard taught you that filthy stuff? The difference between young and old women was that no matter how fearless a young woman was, that only applied to when she was speaking of the affairs of others. When things landed upon her own head, she would always be tender-faced. Truthfully, Zhang Qingling's thoughts had been innocent. No one, either in the Zhang home or on his journey of exile, had ever really informed him about how certain things worked. He had merely heard bits and pieces from the mutual back-and-forth flirting of his two masters.
Oh my word! The mutual back and forth flirting. The fact that he is just like, yes, no, this is the facts of life. I'm used to them. They are in fact flirting. There's no sense in hiding that. Like that he picks up on, but he's oblivious to everything else.
Not gained decency with age. Then combined that with his own thoughts, resulting in him drawing the conclusion of those that sleep under the same blanket are married. As such, in his youthful and innocent head, blankets had become something mystical, like the ceremony of exchanging nuptial wine. He didn't think there was anything impure about it, which was why he had asked as much.
Oh my word.
Wu Xiang thus bristled, reaching over to teach the tactless little rascal a lesson. He quickly ducked away.
I mean,
while
as
reciting
a sister
mantras.
does.
This has practically become his signature, where if he didn't recite anything, he wouldn't be able to use his agility arts. Gu Xiang gasped again, when she had just set to attacking. She had felt that the brat had some skills. If it wasn't for some of his moves looking fairly familiar, she almost wouldn't have recognized him in this pitch darkness. She sized him up and said, I haven't seen you for some time, yet you've gotten more promising? Where's my lord and your shifu? Zhang Qingling recounted the full tale of how he had been callously tossed aside by that pair of mutt-men. After listening to the end, Gu Xiang let out a pah, then slapped him upside the head. Are your wings grown in? Do you even know who those people are? Even me and Brother Cao are careful not to act rashly. What kind of brave hero are you trying to be? She scolded. While she spoke, yet another
Am I
person
supposed
dressed
to
in
know who
black
these
clothes
people
and a
are?
mask jumped down from the top of the wall. They too were wearing a woman's long skirt. Why are you taking so long, Xiang? I thought that was a man's voice, actually. Upon seeing Zhang Qingling, he suddenly stopped
It has to be
speaking and took
Cao
off
Weining.
his mask. He turned out to be Cao Weining.
Yay! Sorry.
He stared at Zhang Qingling for a good time, then raised his finger to point at him. Ah, you're that little guy, Zhang Qingling. Why are you pretending to be an ugly clown? Where's your shifu and the rest?
I have to say, I kind of miss how present they were in the drama. I feel like we got to see a lot more of them, whereas here, I feel like I haven't seen them in forever.
See Liu Qianqiu with an arrow in her shoulder.
Wait, hold on. I think I accidentally skipped. I have no idea where. Just see how far we still have to go. Oh damn, so I skipped a decent amount. Oh, I'm sorry, let me just see if I can somehow fix this. We were at... Are your wings grown in? That's more or less where we were, so I think that's about here. Let's see.
Manage every single bug and blade of grass within them.
No, definitely
Besides,
not.
Jumped down from the top of the wall. They too were wearing a woman's
Okay, here we go.
skirt. Why are you taking so long, Axiang? I thought that was a man's voice, actually. Upon seeing Jiang Chengling, he suddenly stopped speaking and took off his mask. He turned out to be Cao Weining. He stared at Jiang Chengling for a good time, then raised his finger to point at him. Ah, you're that little guy, Jiang Chengling. Why are you pretending to be an ugly clown? Where's your Shufu and the rest? Jiang Chengling obediently went to tell the story once again, only for Gu Xiang to cut him off. No stupid reminiscing right now. Let's get that Gao girl quickly. You can talk later. She took out a piece
At
of
least
paper
someone
from her
has
waffles,
the priority
upon
set.
which were
Sorry.
crookedly drawn
Damn it.
lines and a few scribbles that lacked some strokes. Indecipherable to all. I drew a bunch of the inn's rooms. This circled area is where Gao
Okay.
Xiaolin is being locked up. Damn, I was thinking that they were taking turns watching her, but those women seem to be pretty vigilant, not even trusting their own people. Only that old biddy and a few of her close confidants can meet with Gao Xiaolian. Cao Weining came in close, tapping his chin. What do we do? Jiang Chengling was eager to get going. As if addicted to taking risks after his first one, he proposed a very bad idea. Why don't we make a commotion? I'll lead them away, you two can go rescue her, and then we can reconvene. Good idea, said Cao Weining.
I love how like the narration is like Jiang Qingling proposed a very bad idea. Good idea, said Cao Weining. Like, damn it. Now we know how that's gonna go.
If even one of the three of us was of the same caliber as your Shufu and my lord, we wouldn't even need to strategize, as we could just barge in, grab her, and get out, Gu Xiang said coldly. You've been learning agility arts for only a few days, and now you're thinking of leading people away, you brat? Yes, you're right, Axiang, said Cao Weining, immediately going turncoat. Jiang Chengling quietly shot a look at him. Even if Gu Xiang said,
He
Cao
knows
Weining is a
who he's
scoundrel-ass
sharing a bed
bastard,
with at night.
this
He
guy would still
needs to
nod his head and
prioritize.
bow and say, You're right, Axiang, without the slightest bit of moral integrity. These women are not ordinary people, Gu Xiang said, beginning to devise a strategy. Their leader is known as the Madam of the Black Goo, and she's rumored to be from Nanjiang, capable of sorcery and plaguemancy and such. As soon as Jiang Chengling heard the name Nanjiang, he had to butt in. How so? The great shaman is a good person. Gu Xiang rolled her eyes. What's this about the great shaman? He oversees Nanjiang's infinite mountains, so how can he also manage every single bug and blade of grass within them? Besides, I said it was just a rumor. That's right, Cao Weining immediately picked up. We of the Central Plains have always been secretive towards matters of the South, but we truthfully aren't too clear on its workings ourselves. Jiang Chengling had to give him a wordless look. How powerful this madam is, I can't say for sure, Gu Xiang continued, but no matter what, I can't beat her. Brother Cao, if this was going to be an average fight, I might have some confidence in us. But after following them on their journey and keeping watch on them, I feel like the madame definitely has some special tricks that makes her hard to deal
That's
with.
great.
There's a lot of them too. How about we wave disorienting incense over them, Cao Weining suggested. Do you think the Madam of Black Goo will fall for a trap either you or I set? What we Central Plains people can do is inferior to what Nanjiang people can do. She seemed to want to reprimand him, but with one look at him she swallowed her words back down. This was her man in the end. She couldn't bear it.
I love that she's a little bit whipped for Cao Weining. That's so great. I love it when couples have that kind of a dynamic. Because we know that Cao Weining is whipped for her, so it's good that it goes both ways.
That makes sense, and that's how it should be, Cao Weining quickly said, readily accepting the criticism. I am truly too stupid. I'll just listen to what you say. The three stupid simpletons thus decided to blindly follow Gu Xiang's lead, and she began to direct them in a decent enough fashion.
Goodness. They're hopeless together.
Shu endured until 3/4 past midnight, when he felt that the nail's pain was already not so potent any longer, and it was only then that he realized that their positions weren't quite right.
Okay, hold on. So it doesn't seem like there's a scene break here, but I'm assuming that there's supposed to be, because otherwise it kind of implies that they're in the same area watching this go down.
A dry cough, he wrestled free of Wunkishing's arms. He saw Wunkishing watching him calmly. The erotic guy you drew was pretty true to life. Ashu, being able to finish them in one stroke means that you must have a lot of past experience,
Oh my
he
word.
asked, his smile fake. You flatter me. It was nothing more than some casual doodles, Jotsushu answered, his smile.
Is that a little bit
fake.
of jealousy that I detect from Wenkushing though? Like, oh, seems like you have a lot of experience. I don't know.
Oh, can casual doodles really be that expressive? Jotsushu turned away, walked out of the alley, then crouched to carefully investigate the bloodstains on the ground. Looks like she ran over to that side, he stated in regards to the previous issue. But why is she even here? Wunkishing followed him like a shadow. He sighed upon hearing what he said. Oh, Ashu, why are you being so formal with me? If you have any idea, you can always speak your mind. We can discuss the position issue too.
Oh my word.
There's no need
Focus.
to discuss that, Jotsushu said, collected. Wunkishing gave a vulgar smile.
Is there no need because it won't happen, or no need because you're fine the way it is?
Quit dreaming, said the other, interrupting his beautiful thoughts. With that, he tracked the blood trail. Wunkishing followed behind, clearly out of it. He currently had hormones on the brain, and didn't care at all as to whether Liu Qianqiu was dead or alive. In the middle of their pursuit, Jotsushu suddenly asked, The long-tongued ghost wants you dead, and the one behind him wants you dead too. Why?
Fair question.
The man that had just been jabbering up a storm abruptly went mute. Right when Jotsushu thought that he wasn't ready to answer, he heard him say, Why do you think I came to be the leader of the Ghost Valley? Jotsushu looked over at him. Your tremendous power, he said flatly. Wunkishing smiled faintly. It was a slightly taut thing that faintly contained something crazed within it. I'm the Lord because they can't do anything to me. Whoever enters the Ghost Valley will have all the sins they accumulated outside of it written away. But if it was a utopia, wouldn't it be overcrowded?
Yeah,
Even
that makes sense, unfortunately.
could understand that logic. He remained silent in that moment, however, as if he wanted to hear the man say it for himself. Beneath the wind cliffs there is no morality, Wunkishing continued. It's either eat or be eaten. No one can do anything about me, and I can kill whoever I want to kill. So I'm the Lord. They can't kill me for right now, so they can only obey me. But that doesn't mean that they don't want me dead.
That must be an awful way to live. I honestly wouldn't want to be there.
For example, some people believe that if they got the book Rongshuan once had, they'd be able to do in a devil like me. Jotsushu watched him. So, in order to get rid of you, the vile ghosts have braved the risk of getting burnt by the sun by violating the rules and leaving the Ghost Valley to wreak havoc? Wunkishing started to laugh soundlessly. That's because the ghosts really don't have much patience. Previous lords have been able to stay alive in the positions for more than 3 years. This is my 8th year already. Yet I so distastefully refuse to keel over. Tell me,
how dare
how
he?
could they not be getting antsy?
I love it. He's like, yeah, no, I've been here for 8 years. They're getting frustrated with me not dying.
Jotsushu went quiet for a while, then said, If I could live a little bit longer, I could think of a way for you to never need to go back and take care of you like you're a boy toy. Wunkishing paused, then turned to look at him.
I mean, he did say he would be okay with that.
Whether or not he was joking. After a while, he asked, You said that you'd take care of me?
Oh, the fact that he focuses on
It
that.
doesn't matter what seat one takes. If If they're trapped in just one, they'll be uncomfortable. That feeling... He stopped there, the rest of his words dying within a shallow smile.
I love that in a sad way because it kind of implies that Joshu himself is currently in this position and he actually does genuinely like Wenkushing enough that he doesn't wish it upon Wenkushing if he can do anything to change it.
Feeling was one no one understood better than he did. Dawn was about to shine. Liu Qianxiao's trail soon cut off. The two of them searched the original area for a time, yet found not a thing. Right when they were about to leave, though, a woman's scream was suddenly heard.
Oh, damn.
Jotsushu's brow creased. He launched himself in the direction it came from. The two of them concealed their breathing, lightened their footsteps, and hid to watch from the sidelines, only to see Liu Qianxiao with an arrow in her shoulder, still in the midst of a hard struggle with someone whose face was also a familiar one. It was Huang Darin of the Mount Sang sect.
I can't remember who he's supposed to be. Damn it, but I kind of had hoped that it would be Guxiang and that their paths would intersect again. Even though obviously if someone's screaming, that's generally not good news. So I wouldn't want Guxiang in that position. But now we're here, so I don't know. Okay, just give me 2 seconds to stretch and then we are moving on to chapter 60. I have a headache and I'm not sure why. Okay. Feels like these chapters are going by quicker. I'm not sure if it's my imagination or if they're generally just shorter
Faraway
than they used
Wanderers,
to be.
Chapter 60. Spouses.
Yeah, okay, so I think that chapter was a bit shorter because this one's 18 minutes and that one was 14-ish. Okay.
Jotsushu couldn't comprehend how the two had come to be here, then gotten to wrangling. Wenkushing just idly watched the spectacle. Liu Qianqiu was already injured and Huang Darin was pressuring her backwards, step by
Is
step.
Huang Darin the guy who, like, okay, I'm just gonna spoil, so if you haven't watched Word of Honor until the very end, like the show, be warned. But is he the guy who murders Guxiang at the end of the show?
Seeing that she kept staggering from side to side and was being forced back the whole time, Huang Darin leapt upwards, then hacked downwards with a loud roar. Some malice flashing past that old face of his. It was vicious, containing not a smidgen of the valiance he'd had when Jotsushu had kicked him flying. Sure enough, he was someone that knew to act weak when encountering the strong, and act strong when encountering the weak. Liu Qianqiu quickly raised her short sword above her head. Her sword was several kun longer than Guxiang's dagger, but every kun it lacked was another kun of risk. She didn't have as many sly tricks as Guxiang either.
Oh, okay.
In this risky block, Huang Darin's blade practically sliced across her finger. She felt a chilling, murderous aura, which was followed by her sword breaking off at the hilt. She fell to the ground in a sorry state, rolling away from that very spot. One hunted without rest, and one scrambled for her life in what was almost a sadomasochistic tryst. Upon seeing Huang Darin chase a lady further away like some kind of beast, Wenkushing poked Jotsushu. That chick's in trouble. Is she going to rescue her? He said, words pointed. Lamenting how very dull this guy was, Jotsushu answered without looking at him. This husband fears you'll be jealous.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's the actual reason.
Very long time. Be a bit more serious, Ashu. Stop getting one over me all the time. Jotsushu couldn't help but cock his head to look at him, thinking in shock. This one guy actually knows what the word serious is? He watched as Wenkushing's brows...
The roasting! Oh my soul.
With an extremely upright posture and straight face, he said, I am someone liable to hold grudges. I'll remember how you've teased me all the time from now on. And if you can't keep up when Duke Joe's ceremony comes, you'll be the one that suffers. Jotsushu went quiet for a bit. You think too much. He went back to following Liu Qianqiu's trail, not turning his head, thinking all
Not
the
sure I
while
follow
of how
that, but
something
okay.
must have happened in Jianghu while the three of them had hid out in Shizhong for almost half a year. Back in Dongting, there had already been a faint whiff that a mountain storm was about to come down and blow down buildings, while they had left to go to the puppet manor. Jotsushu glanced at the languidly following Unfashing out of his peripheral, thinking to himself, he's the leader of the Ghost Valley. Wouldn't it be impossible for him to not have seen what was going on at the time? He just let his subordinates wreak havoc while he followed Yebai like this? Isn't he afraid that someone will actually get the lapis armor and key, obtain Rongshuan's martial arts, then make things terrible for him?
That's a fair
According to
point.
Jotsushu's observations, the story of Liu Qianqiu and Mount Hua sect's Yu Qiufeng, the middle-aged pretty man that had a penchant for waving fans around, was kind of something not to be spoken of. And wasn't Huang Darin Yu Qiufeng's sidekick? Why did he let him hunt down Liu Qianqiu like this? What benefit would her death bring him? Or were Yu Qiufeng and Huang Darin fighting amongst themselves?
I can't follow with all these names.
Back to the 2 pieces of lapis armor that had been stolen from the Gao Manor.
Okay, hold on. Let's pause. And see if we can figure out who these people are. Because I am curious. Okay, so the first one we have is Huang Daren. Huang Daren. And he is from... I don't think we're gonna get answers, but I'm just curious. Okay, yeah, no, it's not showing anything. Hi! Okay, so Huang Daren, I have no idea. Hold on, maybe... Nope, not giving any clarity. Yu Qiufeng, let's see. Oh, Yu Qiufeng, for anyone who's wondering, at least according to my research, is the guy who was in love with Liu Qianqiu. So that makes more sense to me, at least.
Had died. The Dongting area had been surrounded by many martial experts, making it difficult for the Ghost Valley's people to wade in. It was very probable that some internal traitor had used the valley's name to steal the lapis armor. Then he recalled Yu Qianjie, the only son of Yu Qiufeng, that had died outside the Zhao Manor. The long-tongued ghost that had killed him had a piece of the lapis armor on him. When it comes to being a thief, like father, like son, he pondered. The more he thought, the further away his thoughts become, until a sudden scream pulled them back. He raised his head to see that Liu Qianqiu's arm had been severed off by Huang Daren. Blood
Damn,
spraying
that
a far
escalated
arc.
quickly.
The woman reeled back 5 steps, then couldn't hold up anymore, collapsing to the ground with a thud. Huang Daren giddily raised his blade's edge upwards as he approached her slowly. "Why are you still refusing to hand it over?" he said.
Why aren't you guys helping her? That's my question.
It? What was it? Joseph frowned. Was it possible that Liu Qianxiu, and Yu Qiufeng's secret relationship was actually known? Did Huang Daren think that the lapis piece that had been stolen by the adulterer was in the possession of the adulteress? He watched Huang Daren
Oh my
while
soul,
hiding
that's
in the
complex.
darkness. This guy's head looked just like a potato, and it turned out his
Okay.
brain was more or less like one too. Even if Yu Qiufeng couldn't actually keep eyes
Oh my
off of
soul.
what happened in his east-facing window, why would he give anything that important to this woman? If all his preceding inferences were tenable, then it was clear that as soon as the slick Yu Qiufeng had noticed things were off, he pushed this foolish woman out to carry the blame. Liu Qiuqiu
Damn.
was still devoted
That's
to him
ruthless.
though, so she just grit her teeth and didn't make a sound. Wen Kexing poked Zhou Zishu once more, interrupting his trail of thought and making him shoot him an impatient look. "Why'd you do that again?" he asked, nearly inaudible. The other cheerfully pointed towards the spot where a bloody and violent play was unfolding. "Since you want to find out so badly, why not go rescue her so that you can question her all you want?"
That's
he
a fair
whispered back.
point.
Sensing that he had ill intent, Zhou Zishu instinctively countered, "And why don't you rescue her? I cannot. Someone as outstanding, handsome, and gallant as me can never raise my hand to aid a woman, else she'll take a fancy to me afterwards.
Nah, there's more to that. We all know it.
I don't like women, so why would I want to betray her hope? Doing such a thing would damage my hidden virtues,
Wow,
and
okay.
absolutely must not be done."
My hidden. Do you have any to start with?
Man was nuts no matter what situation he was in, Zhou Zishu felt. His smug mug wasn't too nice to look at either. He thus grabbed a button off of his collar, held it in his palm, and went to shoot it at him. But before he could move, his eyes flashed coldly, and he grabbed Wen Kexing to hide nearby. People were coming.
Oh.
Right when the two darted away, a cold huff was heard coming from the forest. Zhou Zishu's ears unconsciously perked up. Wen Kexing, who was watching with interest, couldn't help but reach out to flick those ears, earning him a wrist grab paired with a warning glare.
I mean, probably it's with their luck, it's gonna be Zhang Qingling. But I, oopsie, damn it. But I'm kind of hoping that I'm wrong because that's just very bad luck.
Following that, two figures that would be eye-catching, even in pitch blackness, darted out. It was those two old Tao Hong and Lu Liu farts.
Oh,
The one who had huffed was the madam, and she now glared
I
at
don't
Huang
like
Daren
them.
with an unkind look. "Are you planning to hog it all for yourself, Huang?" she asked furiously. Maybe he had been associating with Wen Kexing for too long, because those words suddenly gave Zhou Zishu a bad mental association. He subconsciously glanced at the man in question, only to see him
What?
observing the other four with a very weird expression,
Huh?
his lips faintly moving with much lament. "A moonless night of high winds with tastes distinct, like so," he said, projecting his voice. "This many people in a romantic and poetic affair really humbles one in their own shallow experiences." Zhou Zishu pinched his wrist, forcing Wen Kexing to awkwardly shut up. The two focused on listening to the other side. Huang Daren was seen to grin fakely at the elders. "How could I dare to trouble you two?" he answered, abruptly increasing the volume of his voice. "This young one can arrest a thieving woman like this by myself." Lu Liu gave him a frost look. "Quit messing around." Huang Daren said nothing. He took a half step to the side like he was avoiding taboo, but the saber he held was not returned to its sheath, instead hanging down with a vigilance. It seemed to purposely portray the concept of being united in appearance, yet divided in spirit. Tao Hong watched him warily, then scrutinized Liu Qianqiu like she was looking at a venomous snake. "Little girl, this old lady's gonna ask you some questions. It would be best that you answer them, to save both me the trouble and you the pain." Spring's chill still bit, yet Liu Qianqiu looked like she had been dredged out of the water as she had broken into a cold sweat all over.
Mm.
Her severed arm had not yet stopped bleeding, leaving
Yeah,
her
she's probably gonna
complexion
die
extremely
soon.
pale, and her entire body shook like a leaf in a storm due to pain. Even so, she glared at the other three stubbornly, gritting her teeth as she tried to control the shake of her voice. If you're going to kill me, then kill me. Why waste time talking? Someone like her saying something like that most likely meant that she didn't know anything. What material object could be more important to her than her own life? Unfortunately, these...
Oh, yeah, maybe that would. I think that would make sense actually, because they do like confer a lot in the show. So yeah, I think you guessed right. That seems very likely.
We idiots didn't understand that. The madam was seen to sneer. You'll drink to defeat, then. Her hand suddenly raised up, and in a flash, Liu Chanxiu let out a short scream. The madam had sliced her other arm off.
Oh my soul!
Having nothing left to
Can
hold
we
her
just
up with,
no?
Liu Chanxiu was forced to fall to the ground, convulsing all over, unable to straighten up.
Does she really deserve this? Like, isn't this just a little bit much?
She took great gulps of air and squirmed like a dying fish as she attempted to roll over and sit up. Her eyes were slack, though she still managed to mumble out, "Just kill me." Huang Daren laughed. Tao Hongjie, it wouldn't be too good if she died just like this. She got one palm strike on me, which already put her at the end of her rope.
I understand their cruel. Well, I don't want to say I understand it, but like their cruelness, I can kind of just write off as them being very cruel people. But why isn't Wankishing and Joseshu doing anything?
A blade would save you some of the effort of having to use your hands. Besides, aren't there a lot of ways one can get a woman to talk? He had a seedy look about him to begin with, and when he smiled, he just looked even more seedy. Wunkashing suddenly sighed in a world-weary way. Waves push out the waves that came before them. I feel like he's even more a demon of Jianghu than I.
Oh damn.
Zhou Zishu shot the button out of his hand at last. He didn't skimp on the strength of it. It caught Huang Daren unawares when it shot through his wrist that held the saber, piercing a hole through it, and making him squeal like a pig getting slaughtered.
Damn.
Zhou Zishu wasn't fond of meddling in others' affairs, and Liu Qianqiu wasn't exactly a good person. He had let her slip by him last time, only in regards to the possibility that her face-changing technique had something to do with his senior in the Four Seasons manner. Now, though, he had a sudden belief that a woman who had foolishly waited until death for a scumbag ought to die cleanly. There was no need
Yeah, but this isn't cleanly anymore. Like, cleanly flew past like 10 minutes ago.
for her to be disgraced by trash like Huang Daren. I wonder why they waited until they chopped both her arms
Yeah,
off.
thank you, Vivi. That is my question as
The
well.
other three had never seen Zhou Zishu's true appearance before. The second he showed up, they were all taken aback. The gent glowered at him. "Who are you?" The corner of Zhou Zishu's mouth tipped
Oh my.
upward.
I'm so sorry. I've been listening to too much 80s, so the moment that Vivi said, "Who are you?" I was just thinking of Minji saying that in Halazia. I am. Oh, my brain.
In a smile. He didn't respond, using his agility arts to flit past them all like a violent tempest, then picking up Liu Qianxiu's short sword. Huang Daren only saw him turn into a blur, then rush before him like a ghoul. He subconsciously dodged back a step. Yet his guarded neck felt cold, causing him to look down in disbelief. A 10 character had been slashed into his neck.
Ooh.
"My throat's been cut," was his final thought before blood spurted several chi out of his neck. Following a full body spasm, he collapsed, turning into Huang, dead man.
No. I'm sorry, but you're not allowed to make me laugh while someone is being viciously slaughtered. Okay. This is getting intense. I mean, it started intense. I don't know what I was expecting.
Shu touched down lightly on his toes, then did a half spin to turn. The sword he held was still dripping with blood. His long hair had been tied up hastily with but a single cloth strip, a few loose strands now hanging down from it to sway near his cheeks. A very pale, very dashing face was illuminated by dawn's first rays, and it was looking at the two elders with a slight bit of a smile.
Ooh,
The madam and gent automatically took a step backwards. He walked slowly, seemingly effortlessly towards them. Blood trailed from the tip of his sword onto his hand, then flowed through the crevices of his fingers, drop by drop. The oppressive power this young man gave off nearly pressed on the elders until they couldn't breathe.
Oh my word.
Gave a furious roar, raised her cane upwards, and smashed it towards Jotsushu.
Yeah, that's
His
not
figure
gonna work.
appeared to vanish from its spot, however, giving her a sense of danger. She barely managed to rouse her chi and roll forwards when she felt a chill at her back, whereupon a strong force attacked her. There was blackness before her eyes, and she coughed out a huge mouthful of blood, feeling as though her organs were about to split apart. The gent's eyes widened. He looked at the madam, who had been blown away and might be dead, then at the young man who turned to face him.
Okay, like low-key, I absolutely adore it when Joshu kind of has a moment where he's like showing off his capabilities. I don't know why, I find it so cool.
Flee, not hesitating for a second. Jotsushu didn't pursue him, merely looking downwards, setting the sword on the ground and kneeling by Liu Qianxiu's side. He reached out, wanting to seal the acupoint near her wounds that were bleeding non-stop, but she raised her head to look at him, then shook it very minutely. She was going to die and knew as much in her heart. Wunkexing, too, came out of his hiding spot, coming to quietly stand behind Jotsushu. The armor is actually with Yu Qiufeng. He told you to lead the others away and ran, didn't he? Jotsushu asked quietly. Liu Qianxiu just gave him a look, silent. He sighed.
It's so strange to me that someone would, like, even in death not say anything. Maybe they feel like, oh, you know, if I'm gonna die, I'm not gonna make this easy for you.
I'm not interested in the armor. You're still going to die, so what's so difficult about nodding your head? Wunkexing laughed in mockery behind him. Miss Liu, I did warn you before that Yu Qiufeng isn't good news. She opened her mouth. Her voice was very faint, forcing Jotsushu to turn his ear slightly towards her, only to hear her reciting, The tranquil river reflects willows green. The flowers and moon stand watch by the bay. Year after year after year after year, we meet. After this, the glint in her eyes faded. Her head lolled to one side, and she breathed no more. There was a smile at the corner of her mouth that softened the ghastlier half of her face. It was because of that flawed visage that she had hidden away her true appearance for a lifetime. But everyone was born naked and would die naked too. It was just that, in the end, she hadn't been able to fully recite this half-formed tonal rhyme. Jotsushu sighed, reached out, and gently closed her eyes. The two of them heard an explosion of old, hoarse laughter behind them. Tao Hong was swiftly escaping.
Of course.
She had been severely injured by the wind from Jotsushu's palm strike, yet was not quite dead. While she spat out blood, she pointed at Liu Qianxiu and guffawed.
You're not gonna get far.
Originate as birds of the same forest, but once catastrophe strikes, they each fly in separate directions. That's saying nothing about how she and that you fool don't even have that distinction.
I mean, one could say the same about you and your green husband, 'cause he left you.
Time immemorial, women have been obsessed and men have been fickle. She couldn't even understand that. Her death was clearly not an injustice, not at all.
Oh, shush.
Jotsushu looked back at her, then paid her no mind, simply getting up and striding back to where he had come from. After following him for an unknown distance, Winkishing suddenly asked him, "Your martial power seems to be a lot higher than when I first met you. What's happening?"
Oh, damn.
Jotsushu stopped in his tracks, then turned. Winkishing actually had a rare seriousness to it, causing Jotsushu to laugh. He pointed at his own chest. "When I first met you, these had sealed half of my internal power. And what about now? Now it's at 4/5 of what it was in my prime." That appeared to not make Winkishing very happy to hear, as he just stared at him quietly.
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused.
Jotsushu turned around and proceeded forth. He continued on very nonchalantly. "The power I had in my prime will come back at the time of my death."
Oh, great. That's wonderful. That's exactly when you need it, right? Oy, yo, 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 yo. Okay, so there's just a lot of references to the poetry used, I'm assuming. So I'm just gonna quickly move on. Then we're gonna do one more chapter and we'll see where I'm at after this chapter. Then we can decide if there's enough time for a 5th chapter, which would be great because then we're back to where we're supposed to be. Let's see. But I think we're making pretty good time. It just depends on how long this chapter is.
Faraway Wanderers, Chapter 61, Setting Up an Array.
Yeah, okay, I think we might actually be able to squeeze in one more chapter after this, but we shall see.
Cao Ning and Zhang Chengling each held a dung bucket in their hands.
Oh, damn.
The stench of them all-encompassing. Xiang really is resourceful, Cao Ning thought, having joy within his suffering. She's a Zhuge Liang amongst women.
Which means
Zhang
what?
Chengling wasn't in his realm of existence, so he was only thinking that Xiang was lacking about 8 lifetimes of virtues. The two of them were doing the grueling work of putting lids on those buckets, then placing a lot of things to cover them up on top of them. Under Xiang's commands, they were all laid upon rooftops and on the ground, thus forming the most nauseating dung bucket array of all time. Commander
Which
Zhu herself
is
had
gonna
covered her nose and run far, far away. Only after the setup
help
was
how?
complete did she call the other two over, still covering her nose, and whisper to Zhang Chengling, "Do you remember the route I told you?" He nodded. "Don't worry, Jie. I won't misstep on the 9 palace steps. Else my Shifu will break my legs." She poked his skull with a finger.
Oh my word, suddenly I'm just thinking of Zhang Chang.
"Do misstep, you'll turn into Zhang Stinkling." She looked at Cao Weining, then waved broadly. "Move out," she commanded. 3 figures scattered into the night. Xiang resembled a bat when she laid stomach down on the eaves, her entire body unmoving. The maiden's eyes were oddly bright in the darkness, as if she actually was a small creature waiting for her prey. Those eyes soon glinted when she spotted the fire starting up in her peripheral. She knew that Cao Weining was already over there. All she needed to do was wait for the flames to get a little higher. However, she heard Cao Weining tear a harsh call out of his throat. "It's terrible! The building is about to collapse!" A mouthful of true qi nearly sparked off her. Cao Weining had been thinking of how she was on the roof when he blurted that out. As soon as he said it, he realized that he had misspoken, quickly changing the subject. No, I meant get water, run, the building's burning." A short time later, an uproar came out from
How on
within
earth
the
did he
inn.
manage to mess that
Several
up?
women, their black clothes in disarray, charged out to investigate the outside noise. The other inn guests started to make a ruckus as well, causing there to be a lot of noise in the silent night.
Oh.
Wu Xiang rolled off, pulled on her mask, and mixed into the chaos like nothing was wrong.
Ah, that's
Shortly
smart.
after, she quietly tossed out a few flares from her wide sleeves, which shot straight out and exploded within the noisy crowd. Small sparks jumped around, screams arising from all directions. It wasn't clear who, but someone shouted, "The fire's gotten inside the inn!" And then everyone scrambled off in different directions, even managing to break up the women in black. Wu Xiang inwardly furrowed her brow. This was getting a bit more chaotic than she had expected, and what came next needed to be done very carefully. Surprisingly, the heavens seemed to be aiding her. While she was looking stupid in the corridor, a woman in black that had been crowded out suddenly shoved her. "Go check on that Gao girl," she shouted. "Someone probably did this on purpose." Gu Xiang itched to laugh out loud, while she was obediently dragged away.
Yeah.
They walked to the room where Gao Xiaolin was being locked up. Her heartbeat sped up in what was basically overexcitement. Sadly, supreme joy often turned to sorrow as the woman pulling her along was extremely vigilant. Right when she was about to push the door open, she abruptly looked back at Gu Xiang in surprise. "Why are you shaking?" Gu Xiang's heart sank. She quickly pretended to be shivering in fear, her voice meek. I'm scared." Who knew who this woman thought she was? A lot of young women's statures were more or less the same at this age. She gave Gu Xiang a contemptuous look, huffing through her nose, while she pushed the door open. "Look at how much of a disgraceful good-for-nothing you are. Keep watch at the doorway for me. Don't let—" Before she got to finish, she suddenly felt a chill at her waist. Looking up towards Gu Xiang in disbelief, her entire body went numb, a coldness that defied description, spreading downwards from her middle. She could no longer move. She fell stiffly forwards. Gu Xiang quickly caught her, saying quietly, "Mind the threshold." In one smooth move, she shut the door from the inside. It was here that she saw Gao Xiaolin tied to a
So did she like attack her acupoints and like temporarily immobilize her, or did she like, I don't know, cuts off circulation in her legs, or I'm not sure.
With yet another woman in black in the room. Upon hearing the commotion, the latter lit a lantern and looked over. Once she saw Gu Xiang supporting the unfortunate soul that had pitched forward, looking helpless. She came over and crouched down. "What happened to her?" she asked anxiously. I don't know. She just suddenly collapsed like this." "It's not a seizure, right?" The woman was in the middle of checking on her comrade when she heard the impromptu stage line and immediately looked up on alert. "You—" Gu Xiang had been long waiting for her, though. When she raised her sleeve, a puff of white vapor powered towards the woman. How could the other not know that this was something to worry about? She immediately held her breath only to feel a chill at her neck. A dagger had shot out from Gu Xiang's grip. Taking advantage of when she had been distracted by the smoke and rushing to hold her breath, she had slashed her neck wide open. Gu Xiang had always been vicious in her attacks.
Yeah.
Since the woman's vocal cords had been instantly severed, she fell to the ground without making a peep. Gao Xiaolin was staring dumbly.
I would be
Gu Xiang
too.
took her mask off and tossed it to one side, then said to her, "Stupid broad, scared of even these white faces." Even though those were her words, her hands didn't stop at all. She cut the ropes off of Gao Xiaolin in a few strokes. Both surprised and happy, Gao Xiaolin went to stand. Before she had time to express her gratitude, the door was kicked in from the outside, and Cao Weining scrambled in. "Come on, Xiang, I can't stop them anymore." Zhang Chengling climbed
Thank goodness it wasn't like one of the women in black, because I was scared it was gonna be.
the window at that very second, waving vigorously at them. Gu Xiang shoved Gao Xiaolin towards him. "Carry her," she ordered. The three had discussed this ahead of time. Cao Weining quickly redonned his mask and hastily fixed up his black dress, while Zhang
They're actually
Chengling
doing better than I
haphazardly picked
expected,
up
I have
Gao
to say.
Xiaolin and ran outside at flying speed. Gu Xiang and Cao Weining pretended to chase after him, with her shouting convincingly, "Where are you going, you little thief?" They feigned injuries while feigning pursuit. She pretended to limp, and he clutched his chest like he might topple over at any second. Partway through their journey, they felt a strong wind rush at them from behind, as well as heard the Madame of the Black Gou's old and hoarse voice. "Get out of my way, you two." She then overtook them like a storm. A group of black-clothed women followed closely in the Madame's footsteps, passing by these two good sisters that had been seriously injured by a sinister plot, but still hadn't forgotten to chase their foe. Guxiang and Cao Weining exchanged a look. The limping one no longer limped, and the one with the hand over his chest no longer held it. They both ran along the agreed-upon route. Things on Jiang Chengling and Gao Xiaolin's end were much more perilous.
Oh, damn.
The latter wasn't sure why he had to carry her on his back, mumbling to herself all the while and feeling that she was dragging him down. As she had recognized Cao Weining and Jiang Chengling just now, she felt grateful at heart. "You can put me down, little brother. I still have martial power and can run with you." He, in the midst of his intermittent recitals of mantras, gave an answer within his busy schedule. "No, we still need to go a little further." Thinking of the dung bucket array ahead of them stressed him out. He fully concentrated on recitations, afraid to be distracted.
Oh my
Gao
word,
Xiaolin
can you
hadn't-
imagine like trying to witness this kid being just so focused that he can't take in anything else. He's just focused on the run that he's supposed to do now.
Idea, more or less, seeing how serious he had been. She understood that they might have made some sort of arrangement, so she closed her mouth and bothered him no longer.
I
Then
appreciate that
she
she
noticed
is
how
quite
he
clever.
moved like a phantom with some unknown technique, and was inwardly rather alarmed. It had been less than 1 year. What kind of adventures had this young man been on to grow so powerful? Once he got a whiff of a being-permeating stench, Jiang Chengling knew they were here. His heartstrings were taut. He listened to his surroundings, knowing in his heart that the Madame of the Black Goo was about to get them. Were these normal times, he would definitely be too scared to know what to do. But since he was aware in that moment that he was carrying someone whose rescue depended on him, there was none of that at all. If Sister Gao...
So did they set that trap so that Jiang Chengling would be able to smell them? I'm not sure what the points of the dung buckets were.
was kidnapped by these villainesses, she definitely wouldn't meet a good end. And that made him feel taller, like his entire body was full of power. With a loud shout, he picked up his speed yet again. On this night, he defeated his yes-man self without even realizing it, upgrading his mental state by a good margin. And were he to strike out again, his skills would likely go up another step too. He eliminated all miscellaneous thoughts. Only Guxiang's words were in his mind. He could not misstep. He recited mantras faster and faster as he went, adhering to the route that passed through their previously arranged dung bucket array, his entire body a blur. When the Madame was about to catch up with them, the little thief suddenly sped up for no reason. She rushed to chase him wherever he was planning on going with all her might. All of a sudden, she felt some thread in the air catch on her sleeve, as well as the force of something getting pulled. Her first reaction was that a trap had been triggered. Without finer thoughts, she flew back to dodge. This was quickly followed up by a dung bucket that had been hiding in the darkness suddenly pouring onto the spot she had been standing, its contents splattering around.
Oh,
Regardless of anything else, the Madame was still a woman, and she had at least some hatred of filth. How could she ever stand for this? Out of fear of anything splattering on her, she quickly took a couple of steps back. However, she then felt her feet bump into something, and her heart leapt. She listened to the sound to determine the object's location and escape disaster. But before she had even landed, a third bucket was knocked over by the second and poured out with exact precision onto her head and face.
Oh, damn.
The old woman was so incensed, she itched to roar out, "I'm going to tear you into a million pieces, little thief." She couldn't open her mouth, though. afraid that tragedy would happen if she did.
Oh, damn.
The teen
I didn't even think of that.
carrying Gao Xiaolian had long
Oh.
vanished without a trace. As much as she wanted to dismember him, she no longer had a target. Her disciples' luck was no better than hers. Each and every one of them was utterly defeated by the dung bucket array. The group of big-talking, black-clothed women that normally couldn't even be stopped
Oh,
from
no.
slaughtering the gods had fallen headfirst into the unspeakable. Only when he arrived at the meeting place did Zhang Qingling set Gao Xiaolian down, practically gulping for air. Gu Xiang and Cao Weining were already waiting there. As soon as they spotted them, they came to greet them. They won't keep chasing us, right?
Shame. This
Zhang
poor
Qingling
man
asked.
must be so
Gu
tired.
Xiang patted her chest. No way. As long as they're still ladies, they would never dare to run around at night with a face full of dung juice. Your array was incredible, Xiang, Cao Weining said excitedly. She looked a little embarrassed from his praise, quickly waving him off. What one learns is what...
It really, like, it's moments like these where they really feel so young to me, where it's like their joy over these small things just feel still a little bit naive, and not like world weary, which reminds you of how young they genuinely still are.
Pedal. I learned this from the Lord Seventh. Oh right, Lord Seventh said that if I see Zhou Shu and them, I need to write to him. Gao Xiaolian thanked them profusely, and how busy Gu Xiang was with sending a letter to Lord Seventh and the great shaman didn't need to be described. After their night of fussing, the four changed their outfits, then returned to the inn where Zhou Zishu and Wen Kexing were by Zhang Qingling's instructions, planning to meet up with the two men. Gao Xiaolian was very quiet their entire journey. The other three had some suspicions at heart, but Zhang Qinling wouldn't ask. Cao Weining believed that she was in a bad mood from her body language, and thus didn't have the nerve to ask, and Gu Xiang just didn't care at all. Instead, she happily rushed to the door of the inn, then, with Zhang Qingling's directions, shouted at Wen Kexing's door, "My lord, you thought I couldn't..." She didn't get to finish, as she saw the door of the neighboring room open, and well as Wen Kexing glaring at her ferociously. "What are you making so much noise for? I should just fell asleep," he whispered.
I love just the casual reveal that, oh no, they're sharing a bed. You know? Oh my word, okay. Let me scroll. Oh, Gu Xiang's been away so long, I don't think she's fully prepared for this.
Gu Xiang maintained an agape pose as she stood there, coming to point at him. "My lord, you..." Despite sleeping like a dead man, Zhou Zishu was awoken by her racket, so he powerlessly got up and walked out with a robe draped over him. He first nodded towards Gu Xiang and Cao Weining, glared angrily at Zhang Qinling, then was quite a bit surprised to suddenly see Gao Xiaolian. He walked right past the others to stand in front of her. "Why are you here, Lady Gao?" She had seen Wen Kexing before and heard him call Ashu, so she immediately realized who this strange man might be. "Yes, Zhou," she intoned. "Correct. That's this humble one," Zhou Zishu said with a nod. Noticing that she looked rough, he asked that a worker prepare a room and food for her.
Oh,
Gu
shame.
Xiang was still staring wide-eyed. "My lord, did you finally give him the beast?" Wen Kexing
The what, huh? Come again? What did you just say, Gu Xiang?
to her, then looked at Cao Weining, who was wearing a stupid, simpering smile, like he was meeting his father-in-law.
Which
"Don't
he
think
kind
that
of
you
is.
can be impudent just because you're married," he critiqued. He thereafter ignored the young couple, walked to Zhou Zishu, then carefully fixed up his robes. Once everyone was cleaned up, they
That's
sat
so
down.
domestic, I
Zhou Zishu
can't deal.
listened to Gu Xiang prattle on about the process of the rescue. First, then warmly asked Gao Xiaolian, "How did you come to be alone here, Lady Gao? And how did you come to be caught by the Madame of the Black Goo? Where's Hero Gao? She was quiet for a time. Out of nowhere, she let out a wailing sob, then choked out, my father is dead.
Okay, so I'm a little bit confused because we read most of the novel so long ago. I can't remember if we knew this or if we just know this because we've watched the show. So I don't know if I should be surprised or not. But okay. It makes sense, unfortunately. But I'm surprised that it kind of like happened off screen. Though I guess this is more just from Jushu and Wenkashing's point of view, so if they're not there, then we're not gonna know. But okay, there is 20 minutes left before it's 7, so let me see, maybe we can squeeze in one more chapter. It all depends on how long this chapter is, if you guys are up for it, of course. Let me just see.
Faraway Wanderers.
Okay, yeah, this is actually quite a short chapter, so if you guys are okay, I think it should be fine for us to do one more chapter. Because then we're kind of back on track in terms of where I wanted to be. Obviously, we missed out on yesterday's live, so we're still behind, but at least then we're back to like the even numbers, which is what I like. So yeah, I just kind of want to see how many chapters there's left in total. Okay, so there's going to be 81 chapters in total. That includes 4 extra chapters, which I'm assuming are going to be shorter chapters, probably. But yeah, I think we're doing pretty decently. Okay, cool. Then we shall do one more chapter.
Faraway Wanderers, Chapter 62. Balance. The second she said that, everyone else was shocked on the spot. Jotsushu sat up a bit straighter, but didn't chase the question. Instead, waiting for her to vent her emotions.
I wonder if
He
you
creased
kind of
his brow as
suspected.
if pondering something. Wunkashing aimed a look at him, then very naturally put a dumpling in the bowl before him. Guxiang caught the action out of the corner of her eye, quickly lowering her head to feign innocence of any wrongdoing. After a very long pause, she sneakily raised her head again, gaze shifting between the two. When she really thought about it, she felt unbalanced, so she put a dumpling on Cao Weining's plate too. He was immediately flattered by the boon bestowed upon him. It was Zhang Qingling alone that felt that he and Gao Xiaolian were sufferers of the same ailment. He couldn't bear to watch her cry, yet was also clumsy-tongued and unsure of what he ought to say, able to only prudently accompany her in her sorrow.
Aww.
It was a long time
I
before
mean,
he
to be
choked
fair, I
out one
feel like
sentence.
sometimes that's all that people really need, is just someone to be there quietly in case the other person needs to talk. Just to listen.
Lady Gao, don't be sad. My father is dead too.
That's very, very
mentally
eloquent,
scolding himself.
Zhang Qingling.
It
Well
really
done.
didn't make a lick of sense for him to have said that. His own dad was dead, so everyone else's dad should also be dead? He kind of had his hands tied, but Gao Xiaolian didn't mind too much, knowing that he had good intentions. She squeezed out a grateful smile to him. I heard that a while back. Hero Gao personally helped escort Hero Shin's corpse back to Shizhong. And then, what happened after that? Cao Weining spoke up nearby. Gao Xiaolian wiped away her tears, lowered her eyes, and schooled her expression. When they had first met this girl, she had ultimately been a pampered eldest daughter, despite her sensibility. Whenever she went out, she would have had her sect brother escorting her, giving her some immaturity of having ever endured the hardships of life. In just a few short months, however, she had gone through far too much, and it was like she had shortly turned into another person.
Yeah.
Her voice still shook slightly, but her emotions since come under her control. My father had said that he was going to see Uncle Shen off with a group of heroes. He had said at the start that he would bring Brother Dung and I out too. But right before the day he was going to leave, he suddenly changed his mind and left me behind.
Oh goodness, I wonder what
I
he
even
found
fought
out.
with him over going back on his word, but he was set on not taking me along. He also said a lot of things I didn't want to hear, like the situation having been tense. A lot of incidents might happen on the road. Ghosts were still loitering around. I would put them behind schedule, and so on. A tear rolled down her cheek. Your good father must have anticipated something that wouldn't have been convenient for him to say aloud, Jotsushu said warmly.
Yeah.
The only way he could keep you safe was by leaving you behind. She nodded. But you're safe. If you leave his bloodline going in the world, you will not have let down your father's hard work. Gao Xiaolian bit her lip. A while later, she continued to speak. I got a different idea. I thought that I would wait for them to leave, then follow them in secret. But my father, he sent people to keep an eye on me, so he ended up bringing my sect brothers. I was upset for over half a month, but after that, my sect brothers let me out, saying that my father arranged for it, and that I was to go to a place to reconvene with them.
I feel so sad though, because I can understand her wanting to help, but I also understand her father wanting to do everything in his power to protect his daughter. Oops. Ah, what did I just do? Sorry. Okay.
At the time, I felt like something was a little fishy. The others didn't care about eating, ears perked. Wankashing alone had a placid expression and didn't interject, simply continuing to eat with slow, rare elegance. Every once in a while, he would give
does he
another
know
piece to
something?
Jotsushu too. I took advantage of their distraction to run away in secret. I wanted to go to Shuzhong and look for my father, but halfway through my journey, I ran into Brother Dung. He was heavily injured, and people were hunting him. Ghosts? Cao Yining asked. Did you recognize who was hunting him? Jotsushu cut off. Was it anyone from Dongting's conference of heroes? Cao Yining looked at him, dumbstruck. Gulping hard, he said awkwardly, Brother Joe, you mustn't speak so wantonly, yes? Jotsushu leaned back into his chair. From what Lady Gao was saying, Hero Gao headed out with people from the various major sects. If it really was the ghosts, why would they hunt down Denghuan when they had strength in numbers? Whose life would that make harder? Gao Xianlian shook all over. Yes, you're right. It was people from the righteous faction. They said my father was a murderer that killed Uncle Shin, as well as the mastermind behind the deaths of the Jiang family and Mount Tai sect's leader, because he was colluding with the ghosts to get the lapis armor. They also claimed that he was involved in Rongshuan's mess and the theft of every sect's martial arts books back in the day. For the sake of his own reputation, he covered up that portion of history, silenced everyone, and went to hog it all for himself. Zhang Qingling's eyes widened. He abruptly stood. What? Jotsushu looked up at him. Sit down, brat, he coldly ordered. The boy looked at him. Shifu, she said, none of it was true, Gao Xianlin said sharply, her volume rising. They were lying. They wronged my father. He wasn't that kind of man. Right. Hero Gao really wasn't like that, Jotsushu just said mildly. Continue, Lady Gao. His voice was low and deep, and seemed to have a particular soothing quality to it.
Hi. You arrived just in time for the, we're about halfway through the last chapter. We're at the bit where Gao Xiaolian is telling them about her father's death. So you just missed Wen Kexing flirting a lot, unsurprisingly, and a lot of arms being chopped off.
With a glance towards him, Gao Xiaolian felt herself to have overreacted, flushing with some shame, and hanging her head in embarrassment. Brother Deng told me to run. I was scared, so I could only take a random road in my panic, and I was afraid that other people would catch up to me. so I avoided crowds along the way. My sect brother was heavily injured at that time.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's still
alive.
Jyotishu and Wenkuxing exchanged a look. From that, Dongquan had likely met misfortune too.
Yeah.
After that, since you were taking random roads, you ran into the Madame of the Black Goose gang, Zhao Weining said. After you exposed your identity by accident, they got an evil idea and captured you, right? Gao Xianlian
That's a fair
nodded.
guess.
It wasn't that I was accidentally exposed, but that someone caught up with me,
Oh.
and the Madame's gang stepped in during it to bring me away.
Oh.
They were convinced that the lapis armor pieces were in my father's hand, so now that he's dead, I had to have the damn things.
Yeah, no, that's not how that works. Yeah, no, be very glad. The arms were a lot. It was too much. I kind of wish that bit had not been in the novel, but okay.
She was just another Jiang Qingling.
Oops.
Oh, that's right, Wu Xiang butt in. After we split up in Dongting, Brother Cao and I met up with Lord Seventh. He said that he was going to think of a way to save Zhou Shu, so he followed us for a while to look for you. I didn't expect that.
I am so sorry that spoiled your dinner. That was not the intention, but also I had no idea that was coming.
You two would run off to some place that even birds wouldn't shit on to elope. Zhao Weining let out a dry cough to interrupt
that's
her,
a bit rude.
feeling that she was getting more off-kilter the more she spoke. Wenkuxing paused. Lord Seventh said he has a way? He asked, ignoring her nonsense. The great shaman said that he thought of a little something, and to have us contact to them after we found Zhou Shu. Those chicks in black were supposedly some dregs of Nanjiang's black shamans. A long time ago, the great shaman slaughtered them into a disorganized mess, but somehow they later swindled a bunch of stupid girls into becoming their followers. They've been lingering like a stink for some years. Because of the muddied waters this time around, the great shaman said that this was exactly the right time to catch them all in one net. Brother Cao and I had nothing better to do, so we tailed them to accumulate some virtues. We didn't expect to run into Miss Gao. The virtues we've accumulated this time are massive. Wenkuxing looked at her in some shock, furrowing his brow slightly, but he didn't say anything. Instead, he turned his head to ask Zhou Zishu, "How do you see this?"
Oh my word. It's okay, we just have to focus on the flirting. Yeah, no, the flirting balances everything else out. The flirting makes up for everything.
Following a long stretch of silence,
the flirting
Zhou Zishu
keeps us
sighed.
sane.
Almost everyone who knew something is dead, leaving just one.
Oh, damn.
The winner and losers are already clear. Why the need to ask me a question like that? Meanwhile, the discussed Lord Seventh and Great Shaman were actually in the same inn. The former was having a
my
grand old
soul,
time
of course
playing
they
with
were.
a single chopstick, rather childishly doing all he could to balance it on one end on the table's surface. Sadly, the chopstick's tip was slightly curved, not flat. He tried for a long time to no avail, yet continued to fiddle with it with indomitable concentration, even forgetting to eat his food. The great shaman watched him for a while, then finally sighed. "Stop playing around and eat up, Beiyue," he asked softly, as if cajoling
I'm kind
a
of
child.
excited for this.
Lord Seventh grunted. Though his gaze didn't stray from the chopstick, the great shaman was obliged to feed bite after bite to him. Although the great shaman of Nanjiang appeared to be ice-cold and taciturn, he seemed to have inexhaustible patience when it came to Lord Seventh.
I love that.
The latter was used to it, taking every bite. "What are you doing?" the shaman had to ask. "I want to stand this chopstick on its end." The great shaman furrowed his brow, not getting what he was putting down. He plucked the unfortunate chopstick out of his hand, then gently poked it into the table. The wooden surface was like tofu, a hole being created within it just because he prodded it. The chopstick stood firmly up within the cavity.
I mean, that's one way to
Lord
get it
Seventh
done.
glared at him. "That's brute force. You can't do it like that." The
He
great
just
shaman
did, though.
smiled indulgently, saying nothing. He just quietly watched him mess around, still feeding him things.
I kind of love this. Now I need to go read that novel cause that's really cute.
A chopstick can't stand on its own. One needs to find another one to do it, Lord Seventh said to himself,
Ooh, that feels like
picking up the other
subtext
chopstick. A long time later, the two chopsticks were
and symbolism.
precariously standing on end, each supporting the other. He carefully pulled his hands away from them, opening his mouth extremely slightly. It was like he feared that if he breathed too hard, the chopsticks that he had taken such great pains to stand up would fall over. Balance. It isn't easy to achieve, he said.
I kind of feel like he's inadvertently talking about how he's gonna have to help Joshushu and Wenkashing become each other's balance, shall we say. Yeah, I think there's going to be bits of mutilation along the way from here on out. I shall have to talk to you about it. Maybe we can like pin trigger warnings at the start of each chapter. I'm not gonna know which ones to tag, but maybe you could help me with that. The flirting keeps us sane. That's my new motto with these emotionally destroying BLs, to be honest. And 50 episodes of them tamed. We have some experience, right? Yep. Like, honestly, I have to admit, Untamed was really good. And I think Word of Honor as well, with doing that, like, giving us a lot of pain and then giving us, like, the break episode, the episode where you can just kind of breathe for a moment. And I think more shows need to know how to do that, because I think a lot of the historical romances that I've watched lack that, and it makes me have like viewers fatigue where I end up just shelving the show because I can't get through all the pain that they just keep heaping up. So anyway, that's just me waxing poetic about the two BL shows that I love the most. Anyway, okay, I'll see if I can give you a list of this week's. Okay, cool. Yeah, we can chat about that later. You don't have to worry about it right now.
The great shaman
I'm
was
not in
slightly
a rush.
confused. What did you say? Lord Seventh beamed. If one wants a result with long-term stability in a game, they will need balance. Joining up is a balance. Dividing is another type of balance. The path to balance is, baby, don't monologue.
Why
The great
not?
shaman interrupted, pinching the bridge of his own
I like
nose.
it.
The other didn't get mad, seemingly accustomed to getting interrupted, and continued on. If one desires balance, many conditions that are difficult to achieve are needed. First of all, both sides must be equal in terms of power. Neither can be weaker or stronger, else the stronger side will devour the weaker side. Even if their power is even, that's not enough, as even matches might fight each other to the death. There must be some sort of natural or artificial barrier that they cannot cross. Both sides will be too afraid to shoot at rats for fear of hitting vases. Both sides will have apprehensions and refuse to open that avenue.
That's an interesting
Generally
way of
speaking,
putting it.
such a perfect and beautiful balance coming about is due to all sorts of happenstances and coincidences coming together. In other words, it has to be heaven's plan.
Yeah, he's
If
just
humanity
talking
tries
about
to
the
make it,
soulmates that is
we
Wenkashing
need
and
to carefully
Joshushu.
plot each and every step to carefully set up the game board. If one wrong step is taken, the whole game is lost. But losing a game like this is particularly easy. While he spoke, he pulled away one of the chopsticks, and the other fell down in response. It happened to fall right into a plate of crackly crusted snacks, creating some fine cracks. Only this is needed, Lord Seventh said with a smile. Take out one game piece and the balance will immediately be ruined. It's just that, why would this piece be removed? What have you been able to make out this time? The great shaman wondered. Lord Seventh raised up his gaiwan, lowered his head to sip it, then shook his head with a smile. I can't say really.
I wonder what to make of that. I'm kind of worried. Oh goodness. Okay, but that is the end of the chapter. I almost said episode again. It's like when they have the New Year's celebration before everything goes crazy. Yeah, no, it's exactly that. Like those kinds of moments, and like where they had the fight between Wenkashing and Joshu, and then they had the makeup being like a very focused part of the next episode, and then they paced it out with some other tragic things, and then another good episode. And they do that with Untamed as well, where they, like, especially if you think about, I always call it the aftercare of Untamed, where you have all the trauma leading up to, okay, spoilers for the Untamed if anyone hasn't watched it or read the books, but where you have all the tragedy and trauma up until Yan Li's death and Wei Ying's demise, and then you have like all the aftercare in the world in the form of Lanjan and Wei Ying like rediscovering each other and like being quite like happy and teaming up well, and just all the wonderful things that you deserve after the torture that they've been putting you through. So yeah, no, the you need to know how to do the aftercare scenes, and I feel like a lot of historical romance dramas stretch it out too much, and they don't give you that like soul-soothing bit that you need to be able to continue on to the next torture scene. So yeah, anyway, sorry. I have very strong opinions about how you should write things. But yeah, okay, that is the end of chapter 62, I think. Let me see if I am mistaken. I think it's chapter 62. Yeah, definitely, chapter 62. So that's the end of it. Let me know, because obviously I missed yesterday's live, and I kind of want to make up for it sometime this week, but I'm not sure when. So I'm wondering if we should maybe just have Saturday and Sunday lives, and then just do 2 extra chapters per live to make up for the missing 4 chapters that we were supposed to do. Like, it's gonna be a bit longer, and I might need to like change my camera's batteries if we have to do that, because as it is, my camera battery like survives the 2 hours just about. But yeah, do you guys think that's something you would be up for? So we'll be doing like 6 chapters each next weekend, if all goes well, and we don't have another power outage. But yeah, because I kind of, if everything goes the way it's supposed to be going, we should be finished in another 5 lives, I think. But if we can get in the if we can get in the 4 chapters that we were supposed to do yesterday, then we can do it in 4 lives, which means that it will be this coming weekend, and then 1 more weekend, I think, and then I think we should be done, which is an insane thought. I can't believe it. And then we are starting on Erha at some point as well. I'm very stressed about that, because that will be my first time reading it out for you guys. I'm not quite sure how we're going to be doing that, because I won't have a way for you guys to follow along on screen. It's going to be me reading out loud from my book for you guys. So if you have like ideas or feedback about that, let me know. But I'm gonna try and practice it a little bit so that I'm not like umming and ahhing as we read along. Yeah, sounds good. Because I usually don't have time during the week, so weekends are great. Yeah, that's what I was like fearing as well. Is it's very difficult getting everyone to have time during the week, because everyone's like working at certain times, whereas weekends, like, generally there's more free time. Yeah, the chapters take a while, but it's okay. Yeah, I wouldn't offer it if I wasn't up for it. You guys will just have to be a little bit patient with me if I have to like sort out the camera's battery or maybe go to the bathroom or whatever. Yeah, that might also not be a bad idea. We shall see. We shall see. I think at least this showed that I can do 5 chapters in a live if we don't have like too long breaks in between each chapter. So yeah, again, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will see you guys in the next one. 再见。